Yes. Perfect. Okay. I still got the two. Good morning. Welcome here in the building. Welcome online to the Sunday service of the Unitarian Universalist Church of St. Petersburg. My name is Ben Atherton Zeman. My pronouns are he and they. We're on stolen land stolen from the Tocobaga and Seminole indigenous people. This past week marked the anniversary of the Roe v. Wade decision. This week is Holocaust Remembrance Day, or Shoah. I'm excited to bring you today's worship service. Music's by Todd Wellman and Liam Dunn. And today's worship associate is our board vice president, Sandra Moss.
Thanks, Ben. As you said, my name is Sandra, and my pronouns are she and her. And if you want a church where nobody is illegal and all people have value, I have good news. You may have found your church. Because all people are valued, we also welcome the unique energy that children bring to our service and ask you to extend grace and patience to all who struggle with sitting still. And we do have fidgets and coloring books available in the back for anyone that would like to use them.
Thanks, Sandra. We have 4 brief announcements today. First, there will be a Living the Pledge luncheon today at noon, Conway Hall. I believe that's sponsored by the Racial Justice Team. And second, there's a weekly vigil that Deb Pierce and I wanted to announce. It's an interfaith solidarity with immigrants against ICE vigil, and it'll be at 4 p.m. at the 49th Street Courthouse. Deb, can you raise your hand? And so see Deb for more information about that.
Today is also a food collection Sunday where the children will be bringing the wagon around to collect your food donations to help support the Friday night supper and the cold night shelter. And we want to give you many thanks for your continued support for UU's Helping People and the Friday night Sunset Supper group.
And finally, the UU St. Pete Cold Night Shelter is activating tomorrow evening. That's Monday the 26th. Is Sabina here? I was going to point to Sabina. We might be also activated on the 27th and 28th, so we need volunteers to welcome those who would otherwise be left in the cold. We house 15 or 17 people during those activations, and I know that many of you have volunteered for that, so contact Sabina if you're willing to do that.
And please read the rest of your announcements in the order of service, in our monthly newsletter, and on the TV in Gilmore during coffee hour.
As Unitarian Universalists, we are people of a diverse beliefs. I see some new faces, so I'll let you know that. But we do share this common faith that every being is worthy of love, that what we do in this world matters, and that we're connected. We're connected to one another, we're connected to the earth. So whoever you are and wherever you are in your journey, you are welcome here.
And allow me to give a special welcome to any newcomers. If you are new to UU St. Pete, or even relatively new, can you give us a wave? And if you'd like, could you please just briefly introduce yourself? Ellen's going to bring the microphone around, and this is so that those who are on YouTube can hear what you're saying. but you're under no obligation to say anything. But if you're willing, we'd love to hear from you. There we go.
Hi there, I'm Asher Carlson. This is my wife, Nikki Carlson. This is our third week here, and wow, we were just so inspired by this community and so lucky to have a community like this in St. Pete. So thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Welcome.
Kathleen, and my name is Kathleen, and I'm here with 4 of my beautiful women friends, and they're all here for the first time, but I have been here several years ago. I was coming for a while, so maybe I'm back. All right.
Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Gabrielle Geiger. This is my first time at the Unitarian Universalist Church here in St. Pete. However, I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina for several years and was part of the church there. I was in the choir, got a lot from being part of that community, so I'm happy to be back.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Fine. One more.
Hello, everybody. Happy to be here. I'm back. I'm here with my little boy who's in the nursery right now. First time here. Just feel really like it's a good time to try to start building community. I'm an introvert, so this is the time to be a part of people, a part of community.
Welcome.
We know it's serious when even the introverts come out.
I know, right? Introverts.
Although
all
I do
the way
notice
around.
you sat in the back, but now we're all focused on you. I'll move on.
Hi, I'm Margaret, and my first time here. I have visited most of the churches in the area. The one church, I asked them for help for my friend who was in dire straits, and they said, "We're sorry, we can't help her. She doesn't belong to our church." So I'm sorry I left. I went to, my girlfriend said, "Come with me over to Coffee Pot Boulevard. There's a wonderful Catholic church." I went, I took communion, I came out, they said, "You can't take communion here." I said, "I'm sorry. What did you just say? You can't take communion here because you don't belong to our church." Well, that took care of that one. So I am under the palm trees with a little lady who preaches to the homeless, and she's right on, and she's very honest, and she accepts everybody. And I see the church over here doing wonderful work, so I decided I wanted to visit and see what was going on. Amen.
Amen. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Teresa.
You gotta eat it.
It?
There you go.
I'm Teresa.
Teresa.
I'm from the frozen north. Really glad to be down here right now, visiting my 2 daughters. I was here for Christmas service. We met.
That's right.
Yeah, that's where you know me from. Yep. And I'm back visiting my daughters who live down here. So I raised in Unitarian Church, so up in Summit, and I understand there's another person from the Summit UU here now. Hi. We'll have to talk. So thank you.
Welcome back. That's good.
Well, thank you all for sharing. And thanks for putting your cell phones into worship mode. And regarding masks, we encourage you to wear one as you are comfortable. And now it's time to turn and greet our neighbors. Say hello to someone new today, and please remember to get consent if you're going to hug or shake hands.
I love that many of you are enjoying greeting one another. Many of you have also brought food items, and our children are willing and eager to collect those food items. As they go down the middle of the aisle, Liam will play some music, and then we will, what? Or cash, food or cash. And then we will sing them to their classes.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
Thank you, kiddos. Please rise as you're willing and able for our first hymn. It's called How Could Anyone? And it's by the great Alaskan folk singer Libby Roderick, number 1053 in this teal hymnal. It's short, so let's sing it twice. And the second time, let's sing Don't Let Anyone. The first time is How Could Anyone?
How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. Don't let anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful. Don't let anyone ever tell you you were less than whole. Don't let anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle. How deeply you're connected to my soul.
Please remain standing for a chalice lighting. Our flaming chalice is a reminder that we choose to focus here together for this time, and that we believe this time, this place is sacred. When Robert Logan lights the chalice, I invite you to say our covenant out loud. The words are within your programs. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth and love, to help one another. You may be seated.
We come to a time in our worship her joys, sorrows, and concerns. And those of you on YouTube Live are not in this room, but your presence is still felt. Please type your joys and concerns into the text chat. And if you have a joy, sorrow, or concern to submit during the week, please write Reverend Ben at minister@uustpete.org.
Right now, Joanne Kellner is going to place a stone. Thank you, Joanne, for each one that was submitted this week. And as Karen just demonstrated, you can still bring one up to me or Sandra.
And each week we appreciate someone or someones who have worked hard to accomplish our mission. And this week we have a stone of sorrow for our beloved David Cole has died.
Those of you who watch my video already know about the stone of sorrow. David was, no, please.
David was board president for 2 years. He brought multi-faith, multiracial organizing through the FAST network to UU St. Pete, and he was a longtime greeter. David's celebration of life will be on March 14th, and Karen, his wife, just brought me a stone of sorrow for, she shares that they had 57 years of marriage, and David passed away last Sunday. And this community who has been so supportive throughout his sinking health.
Please accept our love, our light, and we love you, Karen. We love you, Dave. The president of our Unitarian Universalist Association, Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt, was with me in Minneapolis these last few days. So were many UUA staff. I want to give a stone of joy and gratitude for President Sophia and for the staff and our leaders, and especially those in the UUA Southern region.
And we want to give a stone of sorrow for the killing of Alex Pretty, a 37-year-old registered nurse and American citizen, at the hands of ICE agents in Minneapolis. A second stone for the beloved community of Minneapolis and St. Paul, who have already endured ICE occupation and other killings.
2 stones of concern from our Joanne. One is Joanne's former coworker, Lexa, was diagnosed with cancer shortly after giving birth to her second child. The second stone is Joanne's cousin, Hannah, who goes to a bilingual elementary school in Ohio. Hannah is terrified that ICE may come to her school, as they have in other schools.
And a stone of concern for me, for my daughter and family in northern Mississippi. Mississippi is currently under a state of emergency, and they have massive power outages across the state due to an ice storm. The bad weather is continuing today, which is contributing to continued ice accumulation, and trees and power lines are snapping. It sounds like gunshots going off. They don't have the infrastructure to handle this.
All I have.
And we will place the final stone for those joys and concerns that remain in our hearts, perhaps too tender to be spoken out loud.
May all of us find a comforting and compassionate presence in the warmth of fellowship and community. I invite you to read our mission together. You may stay seated while you do that. Our mission is to be an inclusive, evolving, religious community that inspires spiritual, intellectual growth to make our world a better place. Bring our mission to life through our wide range of shared ministries, social justice, religious education, pastoral care, and many more. The mysteries that we're connected. We're connected even when we feel apart, even when we are geographically apart. So let's rejoice in this community that makes of the many one. And let's take about a minute of silence together.
of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Roll in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Thank you, Todd and Liam. Today's reading is an excerpt taken from Reverend Dr. Rebecca Ann Parker's 2004 sermon entitled, For All That Is Our Life. Why does it matter that women's reproductive choices be protected? Because we live in a broken world where life is at risk in many ways. The power to choose is the power of life in the midst of brokenness. Without choice, tragedy, impasse, and despair are the last word. With choice, creativity, responsibility, and possibility enter the conversation. With choice, human beings enter into fuller personhood, becoming creative agents into the world who can transform life in the direction of greater justice, safety, and joy. A society in which human beings accept that life and death are in their hands is a better society. Embracing creativity and responsibility is a spiritual value that applies beyond the questions of pregnancy and childbirth. To know that we have choice is to know that life is not predetermined, that we do not simply have to comply with established structures, rote patterns, or the dictates of despair. It is to know that we are not helpless in the face of overwhelming events. We all need spiritual knowledge that life and death are in our hands. And we all need to do the hard work of ethical discernment, of accepting that life and death are ours to choose. Why should we march to keep abortion safe and legal? Because where there is choice, there is life. Where there is life, there is hope. And where there is hope, we find ourselves holding bundles of joy in our arms. Each of us bears in our own bodies the powers of holding on and of letting go.
Liam, it's so strange to see you here in this piano bar on Mirror Lake. But, you know, your partner told me something recently. I don't know if you know about this. She got something new since it's the early 70s right now when this song came out. She got something new. Do you know about this? Well, you know, let me tell you about this. You wined her and dined her when she was your girl. Promised if she'd be your wife, you'd show her the world. But all she's seen of this old world is a bed and a doctor bill. She's tearing down your brooder house, 'cause now she's got the pill. All these years she'd stayed at home while you had all your fun. And every year that's gone by, another baby's come. There's gonna be some changes made right here on Nursery Hill. You set this chicken your last time, 'cause now she's got the pill. This old maternity dress she's got is going in the garbage. The clothes she's wearing from on now won't take up so much yardage. Mini skirts and hot pants with a few little fancy thrills. Yeah, she's making up for all those years since she's got the pill. She's tired of all your crowing about how you and your hens play. While holding a couple in her arms, another's on the way. This chicken's done, tore up her nest, and she's ready to make a deal. And you can't afford to turn it down, 'cause you know she's got the pill. This incubator is overused because you kept it filled. The feeling good comes easy now since she's got the pill. It's getting dark, it's roosting time. Tonight too's good to be real. And Daddy, don't you worry none, 'cause Mama's got the pill.
Congratulations, Liam. So many children, I did not know that. And in the 1970s, too. You look good. Can I move your... I don't usually do this, but I'm going to speak mostly without a script. Partly because I just wanted to have this not a thing between us. Partly because I just got back from Minneapolis and I didn't have time to write something. But mostly because I felt that folks who, I got a lot of messages and a lot of support from many of you and from others. And what you asked was that I take you with me in some form or other. Some of you donated, and a lot of you said you wish you could be there. And so that's why I posted so many videos on Facebook. Those of you are on Facebook, and that's why I'm telling you these stories. These are 5 stories. The final 3 are about Minneapolis. The first 2 are about the topic at hand, the Roe v. Wade decision, 1973, argued by the great attorney Sarah Weddington. We had a really good Roe worship service written, and then things change and things evolve, and I do think it's connected. And I think it's connected to our church, and I think it's connected to our denomination. How many of you know what UU General Assembly is? What that means? Yes. How many of you have been in person? Yeah. Okay. So those of you who didn't raise your hand, each year Unitarian Universalists gather, either virtually or in person, in our General Assembly. That's where all the major decisions are made on behalf of our denomination. That's where people like me get to see my colleagues about once a year. That's where we have workshops, worship together, have some fun together. And I'm new to ministry. This is my first job out of divinity school, and my first General Assembly was just the other year, in 2022, in Portland, Oregon. The 4th or 5th night, we have very packed days in General Assembly, and then nights we do what we want. And the 4th night, I was introduced to mezcal tequila, which I'd never had before. It's really good. I had a little bit of it, and the next morning, woke up 7:30, which was late for me. Usually I want coffee, but this morning I really wanted coffee. Went downstairs in the elevator. The elevator opened and there was a lot of buzzing, a lot of energy. Something was different. And through the fog of my lack of coffee, I noted that, and I saw the television on in the hotel lobby. And there was a newscast going on saying Roe v. Wade had been overturned. Honestly, my first thought was, it's a joke, that this is before AI in its current form existed, but basically I thought they were doing like a fake news, like a War of the Worlds broadcast. So I turned to one of my colleagues. I said, is this real? Is this really happening? And he was like on the phone. He's like, not now, I'm busy. It was true. And I and many of the others in my denomination spent a lot of that morning depressed, dejected, sad, angry, feeling hopeless. But not everyone, because some folks from the UUA, the Unitarian Universalist Association, were finding out, were there any vigils already planned in Portland? And John's from Portland. You won't be surprised to know that there were already 2 reproductive justice vigils planned by the Democratic Socialists of America. So apparently we called and we said, can we bring 1,000 ministers? And they said, sure. So we walked in our stoles, in our robes, in our priestly garb to this first vigil where there were speakers, and then we all walked, and there were tens of thousands of people, and people were in tears to see ministers walking en masse in support of reproductive justice. We got to a park, and they had a sound system that would have worked for 1,000 people, but not for 30,000. Fortunately, I was near the front, and I heard our president of the UUA, Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, speak from the heart, cry, reaffirm our denomination's commitment to reproductive justice. Susan spoke that day about the networks that provided safe abortions before Roe v. Wade, before 1973, and she said that our denomination's ministers had helped with those networks, and maybe it's time to reactivate these networks. So when I came back, I found out what work was being done in our community. I was already volunteering at the Bread and Roses Women's Health Clinic, escorting people to their appointments, and I've talked about that here quite a bit. But I found out about another organization called the Red State Access Project. How many of you heard of this, the Red State Access Project? Okay. How many of you know, overturning Roe didn't work, by the way. Some of you probably know there are more abortions now than ever before, but most of them are medical abortions. The pill, there's a song about the pill. We have other pills now, the abortion pills that provide safe, at-home abortion care for those who need it. The Red State Access Project provides those pills for free to anyone who requests it, along with abortion doula free service to talk someone through the process of their medical abortion. The Red State Access Project does this for anyone who needs it, does this for free, and does this illegally. It is against the law to mail abortion pills. So I started volunteering to help this organization in their illegal activities. And, well, it's back at you. We were a destination state for abortion care until fairly recently. The abortions were illegal in the state up to 16 weeks, and some of you know we helped people who were coming to this state to get abortions from other states. We provided them with hotels so they wouldn't have to sleep in their car under blankets. Once we became a 6-week state, basically outlawing all abortions, Sandra and I and several of you continued to escort people to their appointments at Bread and Roses, and I've talked before about the reason they need escorts, which is this. There are a group of people who, when someone gets out of their car, they yell at them. They call them misogynist names. They call them racist names. And we try to drown that out as best we can by having a conversation, by holding an umbrella, an open umbrella between them and the signs and the graphic signs that they otherwise would have to see. And sometimes it works better than others, and other times the people coming to their appointment, the words get through, they cry. The kids they have with them cry. And many of them thank us as they leave. And some of them then become volunteer escorts themselves. We have a new, well, it's not a new policy. As escorts, our job is not to confront the people yelling, and that's always been so. But still, some people would do it. We have a new volunteer coordinator, and for her, we really don't do that now. And anyone who does insist on yelling back to them is asked to not volunteer with us. And I think, for me, it's been helpful. It's helped me stay clear that, as our theology tells us, these are human beings too. These are beings worthy of love. We said every being worthy of love. I don't agree with their theology. I don't believe in a punishing God that punishes sin and sends people to hell. And I definitely don't agree with their practice of insulting and yelling. But I'm doing this escorting, and I do my work with the Red State Access Project as a spiritual practice, as part of my Unitarian Universalism. And it helps me do that as a spiritual practice if I am having love in my heart for them, as well as the other feelings I'm having for them. I have props for my next few stories from Minnesota. First is this armband. Many of you know that there was a national call that went out from ministers in Minneapolis and St. Paul and lay organizers for ministers to come. Over 1,000 ministers answered that call, and I was one of them. A lot of ministers answered that call and were not able to make it. We filled up. They said, okay, that's enough. Not to be mean, but because they had finite space and finite organizing abilities. And they had this thought, hey, let's send out a national call about 1 week ago. And with that quick turnaround, this incredible band of organizers, both clergy and laity, organized this thing where 1,000 of us were screened, were welcomed, were given yellow bands. And then at each subsequent action in Minnesota and Minneapolis that I'm about to tell you about, we knew that those who had the yellow armbands were the ones who had been screened, because there's always a danger of infiltration, of in being informed upon, and this made us more safe, according to those organizers. I went there Wednesday night. Thursday, the whole day was spent in a location that I could not tell you about until Friday at noon, but now I can tell you it was a large Presbyterian church, and some of you have seen the videos and the footage from the 1,000+ ministers, including over 200 Unitarian Universalist ministers, in that beautiful sanctuary where we heard from inspiring speakers, where we were blessed by indigenous leaders, where we saw each other. Usually we only see each other at General Assembly, and I got to see folks that I hadn't seen since the last in-person General Assembly. That was the morning of Thursday, and in the afternoon, we had the option to do several things, and one of those things was to go in buses and stand on the streets looking for ICE vehicles with prop number 2, these whistles. Many of you have commented about my whistle, and many of you have whistles of your own. It wasn't as cold as it was on Friday, but it was still cold. On Thursday, it was 15 degrees below zero. with like a blasting wind, with like a really serious wind. But one of the things the Presbyterians did was they had mountains of coats and mountain of wool socks and all these warm clothes that those of us who came from places like Florida really needed. So I was not cold except for my face. And the whistle. It's a metal whistle, as it turns out. When you have to be careful when you're blowing. So I kind of had it in my hand, but then it was a mitten, so I didn't know. And we were sent 2 by 2. Reverend Elizabeth, my colleague in UU Church in Wyoming, had brought their 9-month-old baby. So on Thursday morning, Elizabeth had found a child care place, a friend of a friend. We dropped Carmen off at the child care, went to the church, and then Elizabeth and I were buddies. We had to buddy up for this action, and we walked in these streets, braving the weather, looking at vehicles, seeing if there was any looked like ICE vehicles, and if we saw ICE stopping and hassling anyone, this was our job. That was our job. We whistle, we film, and we stand there. If ICE, we were fairly well trained on this. If ICE said, back off, you do 3 steps back. 1, 2, 3. And you stand there, you keep filming. I didn't see ICE get out of any vehicles, but I did see at least 2 vehicles drive by that had ICE in them. They didn't stop. I was wearing this. Is this a nice stole? I got this brand new stole from my personal minister, Reverend Cindy Landrum, who brought several. I was wearing this kind of stapled to my outer coat, so it looked like I was clergy. And the ICE vehicles kind of look and they would drive on. Maybe they would have stopped. I don't know. They did stop a couple blocks from me. And I wasn't there, but some of my colleagues were. And they did what they're supposed to do. These 12 heavily armed ICE agents, you've seen the videos, swarmed out, got around this pregnant woman and hassled her or yelling at her and stuff like that, and our folks were going like this and filming. 4 ministers, 12 armed ICE agents, 90 seconds, they got back in their car and left. This is what the Minnesotans are doing all the time. You've seen the videos. This is what happens even in 15 below zero, blasting wind. This is what happens every day. One of the workshops, I got back to the Presbyterian Church and there was workshops you could attend, and there was an indigenous leader who I won't name, but she said I could tell the story. She was followed by ICE. A lot of you have heard the ironic stories of indigenous Americans being detained by ICE, so not just citizens, but the first citizens of these United States. She was in her car, saw what was clearly an ICE truck behind her and 2 other ICE cars behind that truck. She made a turn, they followed her, another turn, they followed her. They were following her. And she called a friend wasn't there. Called her, she was terrified, crying by now. Called another friend wasn't there, left a really long message. This is what's happening, I'm here, I'm on this block, in case no one heard from her again. She was scared, she was crying. Then she remembered Signal. So everyone's talking on Signal. I've gotten to know Signal very well the last few days. And so she put Signal on her phone, and there were people, live people there, whose job it is to monitor this Signal channel if someone sees ICErs being hassled or detained by ICE. And she said, this is my name, this is where I am, and right away there was a voice. Okay, drive this way, then turn right. Drive this way, then turn left. You're doing great, breathe. You're doing great, you're not alone. Okay, take your next right. For what seemed like an eternity. And then a couple cars drove behind her. blocked the trucks. She was free. She drove home. She was safe. That's how organized they are. That's how flexible they are. That's how motivated they are. That's how loving these folks are. I can't stress enough how impressed I was with every single person I met who was from Minnesota who is doing this work. Usually there's, cranky people. There probably are, but I didn't meet any of them. We talked about Alex Preddy just now. Alex Preddy and Renee Good are being compared to Reverend James Reeb and Viola Liuzzo. Many of you know they were two white people who answered Reverend Dr. King's call to Selma in the 1960s. Both are white people killed in a context where many BIPOC people had been previously killed. Remember, BIPOC means black, indigenous people of color. Both were lied. Both people were besmirched, were lied about by those in authority. And both are drawing a level of national attention that had previously not occurred when the victims of violence were mostly BIPOC. I want to end with some words from three colleagues. First, Reverend Dr. Dwayne Davis, who's running for mayor of Minneapolis. At a press conference, he argued that the federal government had made a mistake by targeting Minneapolis. Reverend Davis uses God language in what I'm about to say. I know some of you don't believe in God like that, so he's going to say God at the end. He recalled the city's past experiences with organizing, particularly the activism that followed the murder of George Floyd by a police officer in 2020. Davis argued the federal government should have expected the intense grassroots resistance that has emerged in the city, including from local faith leaders. You messed up, Reverend Davis said. You didn't understand what we went through. We didn't do all that because we are heroes and saviors. We did it because we understand the meaning of our faith, that we are all connected. We join together. We are a part of a people, a body of humanity that is made in the image of a loving and beautiful God that wants all God's children free. My colleague, Reverend Peter Anderson, said yesterday, and his words have made the rounds. I'm gonna get up. His words have made the rounds on social media. Reverend Peter said he was really hoping to be able to relax a bit after a very intense week of organizing for the clergy call and for Minnesota's Day of Truth and Freedom. Instead, he said, I spent my afternoon on the streets of Minneapolis as a movement chaplain, providing spiritual, emotional, and physical care to protesters and mourners at the site of Alex Preddy's murder by a Border Patrol agent. We arrived, he said, soon after ICE had left, and local enforcement had backed off, leaving the area to the protest. Tear gas still wafted faintly in the air, he said, but the threat was currently gone. And what did I see, he said, at this protest? Once they were no longer being attacked or impeded by cops and agents, what did I see? Yes, a very angry community that really, really wants ICE to stop attacking our neighbors, but also a community that immediately started caring for each other on another sub-zero day amongst some very raw emotions. Restaurants and churches opened their doors and supplies to feed people, warm people, offer a safe place for medics and clergy to care for people. And I saw this as well when we were out on patrol. All the doors were locked of all of the restaurants. I think this is a very resourceful and clever move. The restaurants in this neighborhood where we were on Friday are mostly run by immigrants. And they all staffed the doors. The doors were locked, and so we'd come up. Elizabeth needed a warm taco, and they unlock. Oh, come on in, because we look like this. We don't look like ICE. And then they'd lock it behind them. Kind people walking around offering cookies, samosas, granola bars, fruit snacks, water, whatever they can do to nourish others. Tons of neighbors walking around with piles of hand warmers. I got hand warmers from people on the street, making sure everyone is safe from the cold. People dedicated to helping others, showing up in their practiced roles as chaplains, as medics, as legal observers, runners, and more. A free table was set up so people could share their supplies with others. A memorial already built around the spot where Alex died, circled by people praying, by people grieving. So many people checking on the well-being of folk they didn't know and thanking others for being there. A man, he said, who just needed a hug and a good cry with one of our chaplains because it was also overwhelming. Dozens of prayer and grief vigils are planned across the city tonight. He said this yesterday. This was not a riot, he said. It was not out of control. It was not dangerous. The danger left when ICE left. I'm going to say that again. The danger left when ICE left. No, friends, this was a holy site, a thin place, a place where people were trying to love their neighbor, shout against injustice, and use their words and very bodies to not only pray, long for, demand a better world, but to start making that world a reality. One caring interaction and cry and samosa at a time. I'll end with some short words from my UU colleague, Reverend Ellie Kirkpatrick. I hurt my knee on the ice again. Reverend Ellie said yesterday, Alex Preddy, you are beloved. We rage and grieve your murder. An American city is occupied, she says. People are being executed. Hundreds are being kidnapped. Doors are being broken down. This is America. For many people of color, she says, this has always been America. But for many, it still feels like a new phase in American fascism. But here's the thing I want you to know, she says. Our mutual aid networks are so incredible. Our resistance is more powerful than ICE. It will likely get worse before it gets better, she says, but know this. We will win. We're stronger, more resilient, more resolute. Hold each other close, she says. Find your people, whether that's a congregation or a gaming group. Find some joy. Like we had with the pill song. It was perfect. Find some joy, she says. Keep up the fight. And she says to the world, and I say to you, I love you. I love you fiercely, friends. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? Amen. Ashe. Blessed be.
It's always good to give thanks. All that we have is a gift from life. Our food, our relationships, our shelter from the cold. And when we give thanks, it is always good to be mindful of all people and notice those who are suffering and do what we can to ease that suffering and change its causes. One tangible way we can give thanks is by giving today through our offertory. In the sanctuary, our greeters will pass the plate to gratefully receive your offering. These words I just spoke were taken from Mike Johnson, which I found through the worship web. That which is given in love is received with great joy. Thank you.
Does that
You'll
mean?
now rise as you are willing and able. For our closing hymn, We Would Be One, which is number 318 in the gray hymnal.
And we invite you not just to sing this song, but think of this song as a pledge that you're singing. We would be one as now we join in singing our hymn of love to pledge ourselves anew to that high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. We would be one in living for each other to show to all a new community. We would be one in building for tomorrow a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning which binds our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service with love and justice, strive to make us free.
may be seated. And today's closing words are chosen with women in mind, in particular, due to the anniversary of Roe v. Wade. But these words can minister to all. It's been a difficult week in the news. And as always, we have silent personal struggles in the midst of everything else. And so I invite you into a spirit of prayer. Holy One, we call by many names, and sometimes by no name at all. There is a space between our breath where we find the still, small voice within. Let us seek together that place of calm.
For anyone who has experienced sexual assault or harassment, you are loved beyond measure. You are good, right, and beautiful. Your lives are more than the sum of the moment or moments that changed you, whether the violation occurred yesterday or decades ago. May you find ears to listen, hearts to believe your story, and may gentle hands reach out to clasp yours in solidarity and support.
For female-identified people and others with female bodies, your agency is paramount. Your health should never be compromised, and your body is not disposable.
For leaders and holders of power across this country, may your eyes be clear, may your hearts remain open, and may your resistance to the status quo be fierce.
For anyone who is wrestling silently with personal demons or challenging situations that are out of your control, may you be held in the embrace of the Most Holy. May you find ways to be empowered, and may you find comfort in the fullness of time.
May this community hold us a calm place in the storm.
May we each strive to be the hands that gently reach out and the fists that rise in solidarity, fierce and strong.
May it ever be so. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be. I just saw Reverend Lisa Bove-Kemper, who wrote this prayer. She was in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, and she wrote that. It's all connected, just as we are. Please remain seated as Liam plays our postlude.
We invite you to follow along with the hand gestures, light of truth, warmth of heart, of love, fire of courage, as Robert extinguishes the chalice. And the words to USP's traditional chalice extinguishing are in your order of service.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of love, or the fire of courage. These we carry in our hearts out into the world. Our worship is over, but our service begins. I'm getting on a plane again. I'll be in Albuquerque. We had this prearranged week-long institute at the Unitarian Universalist Ministers Association. I'll be back just in time for David Roth's worship service next Sunday. And I brought those 2 posters for you, and they're in lovely Minnesota tote bags. These were all brought to the Presbyterian Church, so whoever wants them, each sign says the same thing, front and back. Please join us for coffee hour in Gilmore Hall. That's right through there. We hope this time together will help you through your week, and will help you remember you're not alone. Blessings.